Hello, students. This is the fourth chapter that we are going to begin. The name of the chapter is This or That, which is related to decision making. This is one chapter which is going to help you to take decisions properly day in and day out in your student when you are as a student, or maybe in your professional life or personal life as well. There are set of rules that is going to be remembered by you while you are zeroing down on any decision that you are trying to make. May it be related to your studies, maybe it is related to your personal way, maybe it is related to something which is very important in your professional life. That is going to help you. This, if you are going to learn something which is really great in this particular chapter, because it is the one which is going to be there with you in your way of making decisions all throughout your life. Every day in our life, it is necessary to make small or large decisions, isn't it? Even a small decision is of immense value, because that small decision at a particular time is going to help you in the further bigger decisions that is going to come in your way in the future. Decision making skill is very important, and good decision making skills depend on understanding what kind of a situation is prevailing at that point of time, being aware of our choices, and seeing what it is going to happen after that, what is going to be the result out of it, or seeing what can happen as a as a as you're going to take a decision, and that is what will be its impact after so many years, or maybe uh, some hours after, or maybe some months after, or maybe some years after. So there is an important tool which is the three C's of C, the capital C's of decision, your decision making. Thoughtful and rational decision making requires a proper structure to be followed. And what are those? If we take the first C, it is all about the challenges. The challenges is all about that we are when we are a human being, we are going to face challenges day in and day out. You need to identify, you need to refer to that problem, and what kind of a problem it is. So that is the challenge, the first C which we are talking about. Then there are choices. Looking into the challenges, we have certain choices. Consider the best possible alternatives to those challenges. You would have to decide what are the best possible alternatives to face those challenges. So this being the second of the C which we are talking about. Then we were talking about the consequences. Consider the consequences of choosing each alternative. You would have to think what is going to happen if I decide this, if I decide this, what will happen after, what will be the good factor which is associated with it, which is the bad factor, maybe the pros and cons of that particular decision making is going to give you that consequence. So the first C is challenge, the second C is your choice, the third C being the consequences. So these are the three C's which you need to remember day in and day out while you are dealing with so many peoples in the world, or you are facing so many challenges in the world. 7 steps to effective decision making is something which you all need to imbibe in your inner personality, because if you are able to imbibe it in your personality, that decision making will come automatically to you, and you need not to think in stepwise कि हाँ ये चीज़ें करनी है, then only you are going to reach to a conclusion. Most of the time when we are deciding, we are making use of this. But if you are consciously thinking of it, you are consciously making the pros and cons and other steps, you are consciously taking decisions, you are going to win, come out as a winner. So the first one, if you say, the first step of effective decision making, if we say, is that when faced with a situation, we need to first of all relax. We need to breathe in. Many of the times you must have seen, no, uh, you are being advised that breathe deep, isn't it? That helps you to relax, isn't it? So that is one thing which you always need to do. Maybe if you're not breathing in and exhaling at long intervals, you can be quiet, isn't it? You can be there, but it is certainly going to help you, and you do it automatically sometimes, isn't it? So this is what is advised as a first step. Then say something positive about yourself, that yes, you can do it, yes, you can, isn't it? So that kind of a big statement or big thinking is required while you are taking that decision, isn't it? Your mind should be open to face, and your mind should be ready to accept that. And you must have a belief in yourself, because if you believe that you can do it, half of the work is done, and more than half of the work is done, isn't it? So identify the problem. When we are talking about the identification of a problem, ask yourself what is the problem, isn't it? Evaluate the problem and decide how big or the small the problem is, isn't it? Then there are choices. You need to zero down to the choices you are having. What are your choices? Think of the available alternatives. As you grow up, the number of choices you are facing with everyday life, that also grows. Evaluate all those choices, isn't it? Then come up with the consequences of each choices, because each choice will be having more or less different uh, consequences or results. So list both the positive and the negative consequences. You can just write it, or you can note it down in your mind as well, कि अगर ऐसा डिसीजन हम लेते हैं तो ऐसा होने की संभावना है अच्छा, और ऐसा होने की संभावना है कि ये बैड भी हो सकता है मेरा डिसीजन. So you can just note it down, or you can think as well कि हाँ what is going to happen. So keep it in mind with the effect of your choices on yourself and others too. This particular process you need to keep your mind as well, मतलब mind on others as well. You'd have to keep certain things. Say for example, if you are taking a decision on your career, you need to think something for your parents as well, or maybe something for your the known ones who had been having a lot of faith on you, that you are going to perform better, or you are having a better prospect, and you are zeroing down to a lesser prospect, isn't it? So you would have to think, and you would have to also see that what will be the consequences which is going to be faced by the other peoples as well. It is not always like that, yeah, we are going to decide for ourselves, and the same time other peoples are going to suffer. Say for example, if a father decides that he is going to Dubai, and the entire family is over here, and they are going to face so many hindrances that are there in the household activities. Maybe someone who is very who's a patient, and he is a serious patient. So what will happen? Though the father has gone for a better prospect in terms of earning money, at the same time one of the family members who is suffering a lot is going to be get hampered, isn't it? He is going to get affected out of it, isn't it? So now you understand that fact. Then what is important to you? You need to assess the consequences after the effects of your decision, how it is going to affect you or the other persons, or it is going to have a positive effect in totality or negative effect. Now it is the time, the seventh prospect being that you need to decide, keeping all the six steps in mind, and draw a conclusion. And that is how you reach to a destination, or a making your decision a permanent one, and you need to you are able to decide that way. So if this seven steps are in proper sequence, and you are thinking while you are thinking or deciding, you are going to come to or zero down to a situation where you are able to reach to a good decision making. Okay, when we talk about the decision making skills, there are four types of skills which are really important for decision making. The first being the intuition, though the intuition is something which is more or so, it's a power of knowing or understanding something. It is not always based on reality, isn't it? But more so, if a person is intelligent, he is knowing about the things well of a situation, he is able to come to a better intuitive know-how for a particular decision making. Then foresightedness is something which you see from a distance, isn't it? You are able to see what others are not able to see, isn't it? It is the ability to predict the results of a particular action or decision that is going to be there. Maybe, for example, if you are able to decide at this point of time that yes, I am going to give 10 hours a 10 hours to the study time, or the study time is going to be of 10 hours. These are the possibilities after 1 year that I am going to get selected. That other the other Just few days back I was reading about an article uh, of a boy who became the first student, or the first boy, uh, first ranker amongst the IITN, who chose to be there in the MIT America rather than being there in the IIT India. And he had so many choices, he had so many decision making skills. He must have thought, because he was learning and he was studying for more than 14 to 15 hours a day. And for MIT, isn't it, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, that is one of the most premier institute for technology all throughout the world. So what happened, that Falor was the name. The surname is Falor, I don't recall the first name. He is the guy who prepared so well, who he was learning from last 10 months, or studying from last 10 months, at least 14 to 15 hours, and he was preparing from last 2 to 3 years altogether. So he was the one who was preparing for MIT. He got selected in MIT way back March. In March itself, he was selected. Then also, while he was preparing for that, he was preparing from evening 4:30 to 5:30 in the morning, isn't it? Or maybe more than that even. So he was preparing for that. Then he used to prepare for IIT for just 4 to 5 hours. And with all these efforts, he was able to secure the first rank amongst IITians, isn't it? So that kind of a preparation is required, that kind of a foresightedness is required if you want to grow big in life. So then critical thinking, which we are talking about, it is a very important skill. This involves a capacity to think and reason clearly. You need to be very logical and understand the concept, the ideas they are related to, and it is the one that involves the ability to gather, analyze, as well as evaluate the information. Okay, as far as the other skill is concerned, emotional intelligence, you must have EI, you must have come across. EI is something which is desirable in each and every profession nowadays, just because of the reason this is the ability to read your other people's emotion. It can help you in decision making and involving people's. While you're working along with people's, you can be a better person as a group person, isn't it, as a person who is working in team. And those emotional information can be quite vital in taking decisions. So we should not make decisions in a hurry, that is for sure. We should think over it. And when the people's other peoples are also involved, you need to have a consensus, you need to talk to them about their opinion, isn't it, and then come to a conclusion which is good for all, isn't it? So as far as, if you see, decision making model is concerned, power model is very good. Power model, you need to remember, where P is problem, P is something which is related to problem, where you need to stop and identify the problem itself. You need to identify. Sometimes even the problem is not known by many peoples, isn't it? Say for example, a person or a student getting low marks every quarter or every year or every 6 months, he is not able to identify what the problem actually is, isn't it? Whether he is studying less or she is studying more, isn't it? Whether his understanding or the conceptualization is good, or whether he's putting on a lot of efforts onto it, or his involvement level is good or not, or his understanding is good or not. All these things is a part of your identifying a problem. Then options. What are the options you are having? That then the choices or options are one of the factors. The more options they are better, isn't it? So you need to identify the problem, then you need to know about the options or the choices, then weighing those options. What are those options and how they are going to be better for them. Say for example, good things and the bad things which are associated with that particular decision making, isn't it? And then you need to elect. E for elect. So this one is the most important step of the model, because while you are identifying the problem, you are having certain options, you have already weighed the pros and cons of it, but election of a particular choice which is going to help you in the best way is one of the key things which you need to possess. So the effect of selecting or electing a choice is of immense value, isn't it? If you select or elect that you want to be a doctor at the age of 14, say, maybe when you are class 8 or class 9, and you are able to put in all your efforts and you are understanding your subject well, the chances are that you become a doctor, isn't it? In your due course, isn't it? You are going to achieve your goal. As far as reflection or R is concerned, it is all about the thinking about the consequences of your action, which is pretty important, just because of the reason it's easy to take a decision, but if it contains a lot of cons is something which is the bad consequences are going to come, then the things that you have decided might not be fruitful for you, isn't it? So power model is of immense value, and these are very very simple things. It has been very simply elaborated to you, and I think that you should imbibe these learnings in totality, because if you learn it right at this particular juncture, the chances are that you will be a better decision maker, and you can add colors and feathers, add feathers to your life, isn't it? So this is all about the power model which we are talking about. Then there are certain barriers, isn't it? So those barriers can be of im- um, they might be hindrances, and those hindrances might be because of certain reasons. When you are not having enough information while you are deciding, then you can have a problem. Say for example, if you want to be a pharmacist and you are not knowing about what is the role of a pharmacist in a professional world, or you what kind of a job he can have, or maybe what you need to learn while you become a pharmacist, where he is employed, what is the kind of um, salary he is earning. So if you are not having enough information to become a pharmacist, the chances are that that might be a hindrance for you, isn't it? So too much information is also not that good. In today's world there is a lot of information available, isn't it? Every news channel is giving so much of information, then there is a plethora of things there in the internet, isn't it? Then there are newspapers, news channels, and so many things are there in it, and so many information which are there in it. That also create a chaos, isn't it? Many a times, because of the extra information or so many other information which are there, there is, you are not able to zero down to your own way of decision making, isn't it? then too many people. If there are too many peoples in a decision making, the chances are that you are not going to make it possible, isn't it? कोई कहेगा नहीं ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, कोई कहेगा कि हाँ कोरोना के लिए बाहर नहीं निकलना चाहिए, कोई कहेगा कि ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, कोई कहेगा हाथ धोना चाहिए, कोई बोलेगा नहीं 20 सेकंड होना चाहिए, कोई बोलेगा 30 सेकंड होना चाहिए. तो ऑल सो मेनी पीपल्स टॉकिंग सो मेनी थिंग्स, and when they are doing all such things, you get confused, you are in a state of mental indecisiveness. So too many peoples are not required, isn't it? That might be an hindrance for many of you and many of us as well. So when I'm talking about all this decision making, I'm considering me as well, or maybe the other colleagues of mine who has to do decision making day in and day out, isn't it? So emotional attachment is one hindrance which is going to uh, give you hard times, isn't it? Because emotions play a big role in the decision making, and a reasonable influence of emotions helps in making the correct decision. But at the same time, if the emotions are high, you are not able to go to a particular decision in a big way, isn't it? Say for example, if you have to select a career, and you have certain other setbacks, and you are more involved in those setbacks, and you are not considering those future of yours in the in the time when you need to focus on your career, then what will happen? Then the career will be jeopardized, isn't it? So you would have to think, you would have to have a balanced mind while you are deciding. You should not be that much emotional. You should be emotional, but in a balanced way, isn't it? So this is an excellent chapter. I'm sure that you must have liked the entire content of the chapter, just because of the reason that this is one chapter which is going to help you immediately. Right from now, it is going to help you if you imbibe all the qualities which are required to make a good decision making, isn't it? And it is going to help you all throughout the your career, your schooling, and day in and day out wherever you are facing difficulties. Okay, with all this, we come to an end of this particular chapter. I will be providing with you with the PDF of this particular chapter's question answers and MCQs as well. You need to write your question answers in the notebook, and you need to write the MCQs in your book. Okay, that's it. Good day, students.